Number 5, the name of Deputy Charlie McConalogue.
This is to ask the Minister for Transport, Tourism and Sport if he will provide an update on the work he and his officials have been making to explore options with the UK and indeed your Northern Ireland colleagues to mitigate the effect of the user levy on heavy goods vehicle, which has been introduced in the last number of weeks by the British Government, and also, Minister, your plans to introduce, if any, a similar road levy charge here, and if you will update us on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister.
Thank you, This Government recognises the importance of the haulage sector to the Irish economy, and we have introduced a number of initiatives to support Irish hauliers. We have introduced legislation to clamp down on unlicensed hauliers. A new online system for haulage licensing has been introduced, and we have cut costs for hauliers through the fuel duty rebate scheme, which is worth over €30 million to the industry. In November, I met with the Minister for Finance and representatives of Irish hauliers to discuss options for reducing the motor tax burden on the haulage sector. The Minister for Finance at this meeting committed to reducing road tax on HGVs of over 12 tonnes, with a tapering of the reduction for vehicles below that weight starting in next year's budget. The introduction of the UK HGV Levy was an unwelcome development for Irish hauliers, particularly for those operating in areas around the border with Northern Ireland. My department lobbied extensively against the application of the UK HGV road user levy in Northern Ireland, but the UK Minister for Transport refused to grant any significant concession beyond the small sections of Northern Ireland that criss-cross the border. In relation to the introduction of pay-as-you-go road user charging in Ireland, this has been examined by my department through the cross-departmental group on HGV road charging. The group issued a consultation paper on potential reform of the commercial vehicle motor tax system to stakeholders on the 27th of November. On completion of the consultation process, the group will submit a report with its recommendations to myself and the Ministers for Environment and Finance for consideration.
Thank you. Deputy McConalogue.
Thank you, Minister. I have to say that I believe the failure of the Government to actually secure a derogation from the British Minister for the A5 was a very disappointing one, and I think it's one which should have been very achievable for the Government. And I think really if you'd emphasised the fact, Minister, that the Irish Government over the last number of years have taken a partnership approach in relation to financing of the preparations and plans for that A5 road to the tune of about €50 million, and also that there is a long-term agreement that future development of that road will actually be co-funded. I think that is exceptionally disappointing that you didn't and weren't able to twist arms to emphasise to the British Minister the importance of actually providing a derogation for Irish road hauliers on that road. The principle is already established. You've indicated that there are 7 kilometres of road between Monaghan and criss-crossing to South Armagh, which was exempted. So it can be done, and I think that is something that you should have been able to achieve, and it's very disappointing. What I would ask now is your own view, Minister, in terms of the feasibility of us actually introducing a similar system in this country to what was introduced by the British Government to alleviate the pressure on our heavy goods vehicle hauliers. In Donegal alone, there's 150 separate hauliers with 500 lorries registered. Many of those, because of the high costs on them, are now moving to Northern Ireland. And unless there's immediate action by you, we're going to see a continuation of that trend.
Thank you, Clancorla. This Government and my party has done more for the haulage sector than your party has ever promised or delivered. If you look at what we have delivered for the sector, the fuel rebate for hauliers, brought in recognition of a legitimate need they had, frozen fuel duty for the last 3 years in each of the budgets that we have brought in, and now a commitment to bring in a fair and sustainable tax system for this sector. So you're standing up there, Deputy, you're wheeling out the rhetoric in relation to what you believe should have been done, when your own party never did anything. And during the peak of greatest difficulty for our country, this Government recognised the vital contribution of the haulage sector through the delivery of those 3 measures, and put in place an extensive amount of work to secure further recognition of this from the UK Government. Now, if you have a look at the actual performance of the sector at the moment, at the end of September this year, there were 16,211 vehicles operating under the Road Haulage Operator Licence, which is an increase on 10.5% on the same time period a year ago. And a key cause of that is the measures which this government has brought in to support an industry that we know is vital to our economy.
Deputy McConalogue.
I'm afraid, Minister, the rhetoric is coming from your side of the chamber here this morning. Those measures you outlined in relation to fuel rebate and fuel freezing are a reflection of the fact that fuel prices have gone up over the last 3 or 4 years. And in fact, under this government, and not necessarily entirely because of this government, but because of international pressures, the cost on the haulage industry has actually increased. And that measure that you brought in was one which was proposed to you by the haulage industry and which they had to fight and knock down doors over many months to actually get you to see the sense of it. And it was indeed a measure that actually led to increased revenue from the state, because it actually was ensuring that there was more fuel purchased in this country. What has happened now is that because of the policy measure the British government has taken, the costs have greatly increased. To ensure or to tax a heavy goods vehicle in Britain now, Minister, is €700 to €800. The equivalent vehicle here is €3,000 to €4,000. Without an immediate response from you, following on from your failure to get a derogation to introduce a similar system here, we are going to see hauliers continue to move their registration from our country to others. And it demands immediate action, Minister, and I would ask and emphasise the importance of you actually moving on and taking action to address the immense pressures that are on them currently.
Deputy, all that was missing from your contribution there was you standing up and trying to take credit for the measures that we have brought in. Despite the huge mess that we took over in the midst of all of that, 3 measures have been brought in to recognise the needs of the haulage sector, including the fuel rebate scheme, has the potential to deliver over €13 million to this sector. And as they have raised different issues, at each point my department has engaged in relation to them. We have now made available to them a report to deal with how we put in place a sustainable and effective system for this sector in the future. And amidst everything that you said there, you didn't give any recognition to the fact that myself and the Minister for Finance have met up with representatives of the sector, and we have given a commitment to them that in the next budget we will begin work to reduce the burden that vehicles of a particular size face, which is an explicit recognition from this government of the challenges they face, how important that sector is, as each of our previous measures that we have already brought in recognise.